The Sidewinders return to the Citadel and learn, thanks to Sergeant Tadami's interrogation of Corin Bertius, of another Void Wraith base on the planet Guatrim. Logain asked Tiala if she was still interested in hunting Void Wraith and other bad guys, now that she'd been absolved and become wealthy. And while still shaken by the events, Tiala said she had no intention of stopping her role as a Sidewinder. She and Logain agreed, however, that once the Void Wraith on Guatrim were dealt with, Tiala was taking a vacation. Despite knowing full well that Sergeant Tadami's true heritage was an Asari galactic secret, Tiala decided that Sergeant Tadami had to know the truth, and that the two of them were in fact sisters. Tadami was shocked at first and didn't believe it, but it didn't take long for her to realize the truth of the matter. She thanked Tiala for telling her and agreed to keep it a secret herself. Tiala also got messages from her girlfriend, Lilia, her friend Ilanya, and her sister Lysiana, and her mother, congratulating her on her absolution and wanting to catch up with her. The Sidewinders left for Guatrim shortly afterwards. The constant storms lashing the planet allowed them to sneak up on the Void Wraith base without detection. It didn't take long for the enemy soldiers to be dealt with, and another group of Void Wraith were dispatched. Returning to the Citadel and with nothing on their plate for the moment, Logain ordered Tiala to take a vacation and encouraged the others to make the most of the downtime. As it turned out, Lilia was on station and had just the offer for Tiala, a visit to her mother's vacation resort on Navos. Tiala agreed to go there and spend the next week doing fun activities and getting pampered together. The other Sidewinders took advantage of the quiet time too. Rosa caught up with her former CSEC colleagues, spent some time with her girlfriends, the Atolia sisters, and caught up with her longtime friend Opal, who was visiting the station. When Enrique was finished with the councils helping him deal with his time as a slave, Rosa spent time with him as well, and invited him to stay for as long as he wanted on the Citadel before returning home. New member Zalu explored the Citadel, finding the local racing and gambling dens in order to keep up his hobbies of gambling, following the racing scene, and gambling on the racing scene. He also spent a little time with Tess, noticing how the young Asari had a natural aptitude for mechanical engineering, and Crane, freshly recovered from a concussion, did nothing. Meanwhile, on Nivos, Tiala was introduced to Lilia's mother, Elandria, and tried her best to relax. But the more she seemed to try and relax, the tenser she became. It didn't take long, though, before things became more interesting for Tiala. Nivos didn't turn out to be as peaceful as Tiala was led to believe, as a scum-sucking creep named Denarius Areus tried to force Elandria Crisina into selling her resort to him. He had gradually brought out all the businesses surrounding her, and she was the last holdout, but she refused to sell. Tiala witnessed an altercation between Denarius and Elandria, and when there was a convenient accident the next night that drove almost all of the patrons away, Tiala was sure it was foul play on Denarius's part. Tiala contacted the other Sidewinders, and it wasn't long before they arrived and started digging for dirt on Denarius. While Logain and Crane snuck their way into his private home at night, Rosa and Zalu worked on a ruse to get them into the main Biodyne building Denarius worked out of. Logain and Crane uncovered plans to create a large facility in place of the properties that would harvest rare sea cucumber for use in Blue Sunset, an addictive drug used by slavers to make their slaves compliant. Eventually, Lilia was kidnapped in the night via drugs in her drink, and Elandria was threatened to sell within the next day, or her daughter would die. The Sidewinders came across an Asari reporter looking for dirt on Denarius, who agreed to assist them. The Sidewinders enacted a rescue plan to get Lilia back, sneaking in thanks to the job Zalu had got as a cleaner at Biodyne. The Sidewinders saw through Denarius's ruse to make it seem like Lilia was at a different location, and they found her and got her to safety. Wanting to meet and taunt Denarius face to face, Loghain remained behind in the Turian dirtbag's office, with Crane poised behind one of the paintings as backup. When Denarius arrived, he claimed that Loghain had no evidence on any wrongdoing on his part, and he told the Sidewinder leader to leave. Loghain eventually did, but then overheard plans for Denarius and his people to assault the resort that evening and take it by force. Armed with this knowledge, the Sidewinders made plans to defend the resort. As the sun set on Nevos' sunset shores, a small convoy of armed vehicles and troop carriers descended upon the Ocean Star Resort. With the assistance of Elandria, the Sidewinders successfully vanquished Denarius' forces, and he and his associates were soon arrested by the local authorities, who had all been distracted by Denarius himself by putting on a police ball that evening. With Lilia and her mother safe, Tiala suddenly felt even more relaxed than when she had arrived. The Sidewinders spent the next few days gratis of the resort and their owners. When the Sidewinders were back on the Citadel, a representative from Turian Councillor Tetricus asked them for assistance. The councillor's daughter, Chandrika, had been found dead on Omega, and to save face, he wanted somebody to deal with it that was not tied to the Citadel Council and had no qualms about operating in the Terminus systems. The Sidewinders accepted the job, and after questioning some of her old friends on the Citadel, they made for Omega. Knowing that the Queen of Omega was looking for them the last time they were there, the first thing the Sidewinders did upon arrival is let Arya Talok know they were there. Tiala met with Arya face to face and was informed that it had been gold she'd once wanted, and on top of that, the Ezo radicals that the Sidewinders had eliminated several months ago owed her a lot of money. However, given that Chandrika's death was likely related to a new drug that had cropped up on Omega in the last few weeks, that Arya was being cut out of action on, she told Tiala that she would wipe the slate clean if the Sidewinders could find out who was behind it. Investigation led the Sidewinders to a Batarian known as The Path, who knew Chandrika. He told them he suspected that a Batarian dealer named Bator was delivering the new drug, dubbed as Raptus by the locals for the rapture it puts its users in. Seemingly bad batches had shown up lately, but when the Sidewinders tracked Bator down, they found he himself had been killed. In Bator's apartment, though, they found a video message from another Batarian named Fasrak Rabdehan, who wasn't happy that the daughter of the Turian councillor had been killed by it. It turned out that Thasrak believed that he was the reincarnated form of an ancient Batarian demon known as Kesmagoth, who was prophesied to rise again and bring power to the Batarian race once more. To do so, he threatened to infect Omega's water supply with the tainted form of Raptus, trying to force Arya to relinquish control of Omega to him, and assuring his Batarian brothers that if she didn't comply, they would not be affected by the tainted water. Before he can, though, the Sidewinders disrupt the Raptus production and take out Thasrak and his men. Arya thanked the Sidewinders for their work, telling them that given how bad things could have gotten, she felt that now it was her who owed them one. The Path thanked them as well, and given that he was a contact of Zalu's former bounty hunter colleagues on Omega, he offered to help keep an ear out and let Zalu know if he heard anything poignant about them, or Varax, for a price. With the mystery solved and Thasrak in their custody, the Sidewinders returned to the Citadel to deliver him and the news to Counselor Tetricus.